the first question we have is, at Code for America, we do strategic plans. So I have a natural reaction to the word, and I'm wondering what you guys think of when you hear it. It might be something kind of like this. It could be something like this. And it might even be something like that. So when I hear the word strategic plan, I kind of, yeah, it feels a little heavy to me. And so for a while, back a long time ago, I think 2 years ago, we started this idea of strategic planning based on a consultancy that we were working with around organizing strategy. And they had said, this is really good because planning helps you do a lot of things. And they mentioned all the things on the screen, but it took me a while to get over those initial reactions about it. But the really good thing about planning, and I've totally come around to thinking this is a really good way, as long as you do it kind of in a way that's agile and all of the things that we practice at Code for America, is that planning helps you do four things that are like really important. And we've seen this across brigades. So it helps you to focus smarter organizing. So the biggest blocker you guys have as volunteers is time. And so you can't really, like, if you have if you have only a limited amount of time, you can't really afford to be spinning your wheels or doing things that aren't, helping you achieve the goals that you want to in your community. That can be really frustrating. It can be really demoralizing for you and for your volunteers. And so the thing that planning really helps you do is understand, okay, here's what we want to do, and here's how we need to organize to do that. So as organizers, as leaders of your brigades, you know who the right partners are that you need to reach out to, because everybody in city government or every nonprofit in your community is not an option. That's too many. That's way too much to take on as a volunteer group. So the planning and starting the year off with an idea of what you want to do and accomplish helps you do that. It also helps you understand, and this is really critical this year, how much your brigade is going to spend roughly for the year, and then so how much money you're going to need to fundraise against that. And so that can be really important, to show funders and show potential sponsors, like, we need this because this is where this event fits in our year, and it's really critical to us achieving the impact we want to see. Another thing a plan does is helps you track progress and measure impact. So you actually know, here's what we wanted to accomplish. Did we achieve it? And I think for volunteer groups that I've seen this too, is it really helps you get a handle on what you can accomplish. I think a lot of times if it's your first strategic plan, it's really tempting. And I think a lot of first year volunteer brigades take on a lot, and because they are so passionate and so excited about the year. And then by seeing what they laid out for the year and then seeing the progress they made, they can kind of scale it back into something maybe a little more manageable. And so these strategic plans become even more useful maybe the second year, after they've done them once or twice. And then I think one of the most important things that these plans help you do is say no to things. So, especially when you're getting a lot of energy from your brigade, there's usually that period where you're doing all this education, like, here's what our brigade is and here's what we do. And then there's a moment that it kind of clicks for community groups and government partners. And when that clicks, it can feel really overwhelming. There's a lot of people coming at you. And they're asking you for things. And so planning can help you kind of say, like, here's really our goals. And of course we'll do that, and that we can experiment here, but we're mostly going to try to stay on track to accomplish this. So maybe this thing is just way out of left field and we can't do it, or we don't have enough volunteers or something. So planning can help you also do that. So we've made some things to help you guys with your planning. And so I just wanted to go over those really quickly. I think we sent these out last week. Now it feels like so long ago, but I know that it was just a short time ago that we sent all these new organizing resources out. So I kind of wanted to go over the four that we've made to help you guys. Really try to, take from what we know and what the network knows and what you guys have told us, so that you're not reinventing the wheel or trying out things that we already know don't work. So the first thing we did was make this strategic plan template, and it's an update from last year. And I just wanted to kind of go over the different parts and why I think they're useful. So, um, yeah, there's kind of a section on team development, and this is just more about what's your organizational structure and then sharing responsibility as a core team. I think this is a conversation a lot of you guys have, but we just wanted to make sure to call it out. It's nothing you need to write down, but just how do you make decisions? How does your core team meet? Like, what is the shared responsibility, and like, what do you expect of each other? And that can be a really important conversation to have, right at the beginning of the year. So that everyone kind of gets the understanding from each other and you guys have a good working relationship. It can also be a really good thing to ask your partners. Like what are your expectations of us? And how do you here's what we think our expectations are of you. Um, so that's another section under partners and members. And so that's just like I was talking about, the community organizing piece of the brigade takes up so much time, like getting the right partners in the door and helping them understand and come up with problem statements and stuff like that. And so deciding who you want to partner with in 2016, at least just like a rough sketch. So like for San Francisco last year, I know that was they were really like the housing was like the topic area that they wanted to work in. And so of course they worked in other areas. There's a ton of projects at Code for San Francisco. But that was kind of like a big one that they identified at the beginning of the year, and they knew they would have to do some legwork around reaching out to the government and reaching out to the right community partners with. So thinking that through as an organization, you guys might already have ideas from the work that you've been doing. So just maybe it's continuing the partnerships that you already have. And then also thinking about your membership. What does it look like and how do you want it to grow? And so we have some really cool tools to help you guys do that. There's a baseline survey that you can run to actually just understand who currently is in your brigade, and we just link to the questions that we ask as a network. And then there's an attendance tool where you can track over time who's coming, so you can kind of get that ongoing measurement of, once you have your baseline, how are you doing against it? And that can help you just make your brigade look more like the community that it's in. There's also this idea then of projects and activities. And for the most part, as volunteer groups, the thing that you guys build is community. And then in your community, you build different projects and you do different tools. But a lot of those are the resource that takes is people. So most of your organizing efforts and most of the things that you'll actually write down in terms of projects or events are going to fall more into the event side. So we run a weekly hack night and we're participating in Code Across National Day of Civic Hacking. So that's really just to let you guys start to like sketch that out. And then like we were talking about earlier, the budget piece will be important this year. So how do you, what are your projected costs? So like what kind of money do you need to help? Or do you need to be looking for, what kind of in-kind donations do you need to be asking for? And so that's the strategic plan. It's pretty straightforward. We tried to keep it to just the things we thought it would be helpful for a brigade to think through. Like if you were starting out the year and you didn't want to miss anything. It's not meant to be, what the strategic plan isn't meant to do is like write down every single project that you want to, do like a waterfall approach to projects where you identify that we're going to do a housing project and it's going to cost this much. Like when it comes to the building of technology, the strategic plan isn't useful, right? Like that strategic plan goes kind of against the idea of agile and lean development, but it's really important to organizing. So I just wanted to call that out. All right, so the next resource we made that I just wanted to show you is this organizer's calendar. So you might have already seen it when we sent out this invite. But this is just a calendar we made. A lot of times the questions we get from especially new organizers is like, what is everyone else doing around this time across the network? And like, what should I be focusing on if I want to, have the greatest impact on my community? And that's super hard to answer because everyone is so unique and every community is so different. But we took a stab at like very high level themes for each month. So November's theme, for example, is like working with your core team to identify partners, strategies, and fundraising opportunities for 2016. So it's really like a high level kind of theme, I guess, for the month. But it's something we think that most brigades are probably doing. And so we did that for every month throughout the year. And then we also are putting together different things, so different workshops and different events to support that theme. And so this should look really familiar. It probably feels very similar if you were in the brigades last year, but it's just getting a little more structure on that and writing it down somewhere. And so we have, in just December, revising your strategic plan and continuing or starting to fundraise. In January, cultivating government and community partners and inviting them to a user needs workshop. This one's kind of new. So in Boston last year for National Day of Civic Hacking, the way that they worked with their partners was by hosting a user needs workshop in the month before National Day. So in, I think, April or May, they were getting ready for National Day, which is in June. And so they hosted this workshop for their partners where they helped their partners come up with problem statements. And then based on those problem statements, that's what their brigade actually prototyped at Code Across. So they had like this really healthy and like great relationship with their partners. Their partners felt supported, and then they actually had statements that brigade members would be able to prototype. Which, if you guys have done that work, done hackathons or something before, it can be kind of difficult to take a problem statement and kind of parse it down into something that volunteers can do. So we recommended that as like in January when you're out there and you're starting up these relationships or continuing relationships with community and government partners. If you need a direct ask or a hard ask, which is really important in organizing, that could be just an invite to a workshop so that you can help them identify what their user needs actually are. And then, the carrot on that is if they come to that workshop and work through those user needs with you, then in March at Code Across, you can prototype them. And so we want to offer a lot of support around all of this. Like I said, this is the first time we've done a calendar like this. So yeah, would love feedback on it. We're going to try to support it with really good workshops and programming. Okay, so for Organizers Playbook, this is something that we created and we're really excited to get your guys' feedback on. And you can find all of these resources. I'll send out the deck, but also if you go to the Brigade website, Code4America/Brigade, under the Organize section, that's where the calendar is, this playbook is, and then I'm going to show you the checklist too. And what the playbook is just we wrote down everything we knew from years of organizing, from talking to all of you, to running these different events, everything that we could think of based on a lot of your guys' experience, and we wrote it down in one place. And so there's a table of contents, but the main three parts of this playbook are organizing, so how to do host days of actions and do partnerships with government and community. There's a building section so that workshop to help partners identify user needs that I was talking about that maybe you could host in February to inform March, like your March Code Across. In that prototyping, we have a section on how to actually run that workshop with a Code for Boston's checklist of what they did. There's a lean software development section and user testing section, which features Sid Harrell's lovely checklist of how to do user testing. And then also a lot of great resources around how to start a CUT group, which is a civic user testing group. So how to actually have a dedicated group that when you have things to test, that you can just go to them and there's a process and a way of doing that Smart Chicago Collaborative came up with that we really recommend. So there's a bunch of resources in that section. And then there's an infrastructure section, which is probably what you guys would want to be peeking at around now. So that has a section on drafting a strategic plan and building a core team, implementing a code of conduct, fundraising. Under the fundraising section, we have a fundraising workshop next Tuesday with Shakira, and she's going to be talking through this section, but she wrote a 30-page or more fundraising handbook. It's a lot, but it's like the most comprehensive thing. If you're going to start fundraising, I think you'll find it comforting because it has a lot of answers to pretty much most of the questions that you'll probably have. So take a peek at that section. And then there's sections on setting up tools to manage your brigade, developing a brand strategy, and then We have like a coming soon section, which is stuff that we're in the process of writing. So check out the playbook. If you use it and you have feedback, we'd love to hear it. If you have sections you'd like to see added, we'd love to hear about those. If you have sections you'd like to write, we'd love to have we'd love to have more Code for Boston checklists or Sid Harrell checklists, those kind of styles. We like those the best. So we'd love to hear from you on what's worked and feature your content and your experiences in this playbook. So that's a resource. And then the last resource that we have is just the checklist of here's what Code for America provides for different levels of brigades or different ways that you want to plug in. So you can plug in as official brigade, which it seems like a lot of folks on this call are probably aiming to do because you're going to write a strategic plan. But if that seems like a lot of work, if you're like, whoa, that's a lot, I just want to host a hack night and have people come and meet and, invite government and community partners, but I don't want to have this really big plan or do these kind of organize this core team. Like I'm fine doing this by myself or with a friend or two. You could also run a civic hack night. If you go to the Brigade and you go to Code for America /brigade/organize, you can find the checklist that I'm talking about. Because it looks like I'm sharing, or according to Blue Jeans, so I'm not sure how to troubleshoot that. So maybe just do that if you could only see my face. So there's a checklist there, and it just says, here's what like Code for America provides, and then if you want, if that sounds like something you want, then this is the things that we would need from you in order to provide it. And so we just tried to lay it out really simple. We've heard so much feedback on like, it's really confusing. I have no idea what I have to do to become official or become just like plugged into the network. And so we tried to make that really easy to understand this year. And so, yeah, for the Civic Hack Night, it's just a code of conduct and a government partner. So you just need to be organizing people with a code of conduct, and that's going to be common across everything. And then if you have an official brigade, it's a heavier lift for sure. So you have a core team, a strategic plan, and then a government and a community partner. And then in return, if you have those things in place, we want to help you out. And so we have a list of things that will provide you. Kind of the big key ones for official brigades are a financial infrastructure and fundraising support. And we'll talk about that at next week's meeting, or if you don't have time to come to that, we could talk about it during office hours. And we're going to provide you with just a lot of resources of like in-kind credits, different types of opportunities to plug into the network, come to Summit, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, check that out. And then on that page is the button that says let us know. And that's where you guys you can submit to become an official brigade. So once you have your strategic plan in place, which I think for a lot of you is kind of the thing you need to do to kind of re-up for next year, you just let us know by filling out that form, and then we will make sure you have access to all of the stuff. We're going to help you do everything that we can on our end to be successful for 2016. All right, so that's all So then the last thing is, a good place to start for strategic plan, and the only thing that we kind of have of a recommendation is a planning meeting. So inviting your government and community partners, if you have them, and inviting your core team to kind of sit down and start chatting about this stuff and thinking about what you want to do. And so you definitely want to write it down. You want to write it in a way that you guys can revisit it and do the tracking and brainstorm. But getting everyone in the room to start the conversation is kind of our recommendation of the kind of only thing we've seen across brigades that's like the thing that we would suggest the most. So that's all the advice and all the tools we have on strategic planning. So I would just love to hear from you guys. I'm going to stop sharing my screen